What's going on, everybody? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Texas League Weekly Video Podcast. We have a special guest host filling in this week for our usual third host, who is somewhere off living his World Series best life. So we will let our guest host introduce himself first.
My name is Nathan. I go by Nate. I've been part of this league for 15 years or something like that. I was on this last season, except last season I was doing it from Disney, Orlando. I was staying at a timeshare I didn't pay for.
Those are the best ones. Those are the best ones to stay at.
2 hours of saying no and 4 days of a free 2-bed, 2-bath with kitchen.
Very nice.
Right. How I know Jared is he was living across the hall from a friend of mine that got busted, or his roommate got busted for selling weed out of his room, and so they made him move downstairs. And so I met Jared in the room, and Jared was pretty good at Madden back then, but he's never to this day beaten me at it. He can beat me at college football, but he can't beat me in Madden, and that record holds. The first time we played each other, I told him I would give up if he was up on me by 14 at the half, and I was beating him by 14 at the half, and he only barely caught up to me, kind of towards the end, but never quite got there after I just took the double shift. So I can still hold my head high. I haven't played him. I played like one or two after that, and I still beat him. He just can't play. That's the problem. He doesn't have.
I am not a man. How do you respond to that? I'm my other co-host. Introduce yourself.
I am Jared, the commissioner, and I can't even respond because I am not a Madden player. I have never been great at Madden. Now, college football has and will always be my game. And when the game comes out, I'm going to pick up where I left off.
I beat that option. I just ran a 4-4 contain on you. It took me like 3 years to figure that one out.
Well, that's a great segue, Jared, because you're going to pick up losing to Dwayne, who is our other co-host.
What? Well, I don't know what you don't see. You know what? I'm almost saying.
I'm not going to make the claim that Nate made, which is that you've never beat me, because that is not true. We have played a lot of college football against each other, and it is a very even matchup in terms of our skill and ability on the game. So I will not make the claim that you've never beaten me. And the funny thing is I never really played college until we started playing each other. I used to play Madden, and once I started playing NCAA, I have not picked up Madden since then. So I'm also excited about the return. But all right. So, Jared, what's this week's kickoff question?
Before I ask my question, I have a question for you, gentlemen. 1 or 3? That's going to determine the question I ask.
3.
All right. Well, with that being said, since the NFL trade deadline was yesterday, I want you to pick one player from any team in our league that you would like on your team, but the caveat is you must give up your first round pick and keep this player until their next reset.
Oh.
And I got to look around. I thought you were going to say 3 because that's the amount of fingers Jason Pierre-Paul has on his right hand.
Getting personal with the favorite team.
I think he might be right. He might have 3.5. But you know what? You know what doesn't have 3? The Packers win column.
We do not have 3 wins this season, and we probably won't at the rate.
I would say, since I actually have Jonathan Taylor on my team, controversial, but I would say Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley.
Running backs are, should I say, top tier running backs are a premium. Proven top tier running backs heading into their physical prime are even harder to come by. So I know probably some people would say run CMC.
That's what I would.
But for me, with his injury and looking 3 years down the line, I don't know that he would be the person to keep in terms of longevity.
He's still got a year or two on him, I think, at least. He's been scoring a touchdown every single week. You can't beat that consistency.
Not at all. You cannot beat that consistency.
I
Nope.
think it reminds me of like it was having LaDainian Tomlinson for years in fantasy.
Yeah.
The consistent keeper. Except he got more in the air. He was all over the place. So and I'm losing in another league right now because I don't have any running backs. My running backs are awful. So
that's my point. Like I remember in a keeper league, I happened to get Arian Foster as a rookie. So that was a staple on my team. He was a staple on my team for several years while he was with Houston.
Yeah.
And every year I got trade offers for him, but it just didn't outweigh what he was producing fantasy wise. So yeah, so even though, he had his injury issues, and I think the Giants are going to regret not locking him up long term when they had the chance to. But I would say, yeah, I'd take Saquon. What about you, Jared?
For me, this is rather simple. Anytime that I've been successful long term, I've had a quarterback that was a consistent producer. I don't need a quarterback that's just going to blow the doors off. I just need one that's not going to be hot garbage week in and week out. So you know who I'm gonna go get, since I got to give up my first round pick and keep him for the rest of the of this go round. I'm gonna go take the quarterback from our guest host. I'm gonna go get Joe Burrow because I know that he has wide receivers around him. He's he's young. He's youngish because he actually was in college for the whole time. Unlike some of these quarterbacks that come out earlier, he's got Jamar Chase. He's got T Higgins, who they make it sound like they want to re-sign. He's got Joe Mixon behind him.
He's got Boyd. He's not a third receiver.
He got Boyd.
Yeah, Boyd.
But so yeah, he got a good surrounding cast, supporting cast, and I think that he would be good for the next 3 to 4 years, at least for the rest of that contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, it always leaves me out too. Beginning of the season, you see that new rookie running back coming in for whatever team it's going to be, and so you can kind of shore up that position depending on earlier in the draft. And like this year with Bijan, right out the gate.
Yeah, Atlanta has been doing their first round talent pretty shitty the last couple of years, unfortunately. But excellent question. It's a good question, especially with us being a keeper league. Thank you for that. So my question this week is taking a look at the NFL. So the NFL folded the NFL Europe in 2007 and decided to focus on using in-season games with actual NFL teams. And I believe they even did a couple of preseason. They've done a couple of preseason games internationally as well over since 2007. They're so used to it now that it used to be that teams who were playing overseas they would automatically get a bye week after their overseas trip. They don't even do that anymore. So now, you might play in London on Sunday and you're back in Baltimore, like say in the case of the Ravens, the very next Sunday. Do you think so? This week we actually have the Dolphins and the Chiefs in Germany on Sunday. How long do you think it'll be before we get one or maybe even several NFL franchises on the European continent?
That depends. How do the Jaguars have a lease on a stadium? Because I can see him moving that team to Europe.
I think that, because I don't want to mess up their owner's name.
Is that Con?
Yeah, Shahid Khan.
Hey, Khan,
The,
yeah.
uh,
He's
the
the son
Packers.
that his son does the wrestling thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
Uh, so he's uh, on the Jaguars for several years now, and I don't believe any team has played more games overseas since 2011. I believe they've played 12 games overseas since 2011. So they have been, and they have a very big fan base overseas. But continue, Jared.
Yeah, that's just where I'm going with it. Like the Jaguars are always there, and they just everybody makes jokes about they're the people who are going to move over there first, and I don't know why he wouldn't do it. But the thing, like you said, the only problem I see is the travel logistics for getting 8 teams over there a year. It's just going the schedule's gonna have to be a little interesting because you
But they
flying
do
people
it
back
now.
and forth all season.
You
But,
know,
but
Like I said, they were giving people bye weeks, like you said, but they gonna just get rid of the bye weeks and just make it like it's a regular travel location. Are you gonna redo the divisions? Because Houston and London in the same, yeah,
I think there's a better chance of them at some point trying to get another minor league operation, another NFL Europa again, more than there would be just to kind of get a little football over there, get them familiar with it. And that might be a good lead in to do it. I know it failed before, but if they feel like they're drawing enough audiences to do it again, you put, 4 teams, 8 teams over there. And someone brought this up to me and said, how many, why doesn't the NFL expand as easy? Why does it take so much time to get an NFL expansion team? When you look at any other sport, whether you look at hockey, you look at basketball, any of those other sports, baseball, you could put together another franchise in the US, in a week, provided you had everything else. There's enough player talent out there. With the NFL, you got to pull them up from college or pull them from other teams. So for them, it might be better to have another minor league team again, especially if you are trying to get people there used to the real football.
I think the thing that makes the most sense is almost you would have to create a whole nother, you would have to go 4 teams. Like you would have to make it a whole big thing where you'd go to 36 teams. Like you put a couple of teams in England, one team in Germany, one team in Spain, but you'd have to make it worth the while so that you could have 8 teams. You could have those 8 games between that division overseas, and then you would be able to rotate 2 teams out there to play. So, it wouldn't be, you would have to, like you said, you'd have to be very creative with the scheduling. So it couldn't be maybe all the NFC East plays the NFL Europe division this year. Maybe only one team plays each of those teams, and then they're over there for say 5 weeks, and then they're over there for Europe for 3 of their away games or 4 of their away games, and then they go into their bye before they resume their home schedule. So I mean, with between advanced analytics, AI, and everything else, if they wanted to, they can figure out a way. I do think that one of the issues before is that they were losing money, but you didn't have TV deals then like you do now. You didn't have access to international sports as freely then as you did now. I think that the Olympics getting flag football is going to renew or be a good exposure to the sport from around the world. So I definitely think that it's possible. But even if you don't go all the way to Europe, even adding a couple of teams, the NFL Mexico team, or even having a team back in Canada, like the NFL is going to expand again because there's too much money on the table for them not to expand. So, all right. Thank you, gentlemen. Oh, let's jump into our next question so who would you say it was the top fantasy performer? Who would you like to give your fantasy gold star to from week 8? Nate.
Uh, gonna have to look actually.
gonna take your time. That's what we do here.
Okay.
While you thinking about it, Jared, who would you like to give your fantasy gold star to this week?
Uh, Selfishly, I'm going to give it to Austin Eckler as he helped me beat you this week.
Well, I'd like to give the finger to you and Austin Eckler real quick. That's a good
I knew that would hurt just a little extra as a Raiders fan. I know how you feel about anybody in there. Or any, is what it is. Because he came back off that injury. He came back kind of slow. He was starting to get back to himself this week. But, if you want a non-Charger, there's always somebody who just very inconsistent, but he showed up this week. Sam Howell.
Indeed.
I'm thinking Dak Prescott had a good week. Someone remarkably consistent but inconsistent, but he had an early 36-point week from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah. I mean, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's a hell of a fantasy week.
Gave CeeDee Lamb 35. So,
right.
I mean,
who was actually the top fantasy performer in all of fantasy football this week, thanks to his 12 catches, 158 yards, and 2 touchdowns this week. I would give mine to DeAndre Hopkins. So the Titans finally pulled the trigger and put in their rookie QB from Kentucky, Will Levis, who definitely made more headlines for his smoking hot girlfriend at the draft than he did with his play in the preseason. But the experiment with Tannehill that most people thought would have been over 2 years ago seems to have come to an end in Nashville as the Titans put Will Levis in, which we instantly saw the chemistry with DeAndre Hopkins, who had 4 catches for 128 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, I mean, DeAndre is still DeAndre, and this is the person that they brought to Nashville. This is what they were trying to expect and get out of him when they let AJ Brown go. So kudos to DeAndre. So with that being said, who would you like to give your fantasy certificate of participation award to this week for not showing up when you needed them to?
It seems I lost by 7 points. A lot of culprits on my team here. How about see what's the biggest waste of space here? Probably another week out of Christian Watson not doing jack crap. How about that? 4 points.
That is very fair.
Wow. That's how you feel about it.
It's my own team. I mean,
I'm not going to argue.
He didn't show up, and you definitely needed him to. What about you, Jared?
Not 2 and 4.
Once again, I'm gonna give this one to someone who helped me win. Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
he was under the weather and under his normal output by far. What was it? 2 weeks ago, he went off and just blew up for 40 and helped me lose. This week, what did he score? Like 8 points, 10 points? It was something very.
Well, the team went home. I'm sorry.
It was very
the team had. Yeah. Yeah, that helped me win in my work league, so I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'm sure all the Patrick Mahomes owners everywhere are just mad right now. Like,
oh yes, that definitely cost me a game in one of my other leagues where Mahomes is my starting quarterback. So, yeah, had he just had an average day of 20 points, I would have won that game. But he didn't, and I lost. So, I'm going to give my award to the Cowboys running back and Tony Pollard. Your team put up 43 points and you only managed 6 fantasy points. So which also helps you win, Jared, because Tony Pollard scores a touchdown, I win my game. So that is what it is, though. So, all right. So speaking of the Texas League, let's take a look at last week's performances. And see how we fared. All right. So, as we alluded to, Jared gets revenge on an earlier loss this season to Devastator, who has fallen from grace and all the way down to last place in the league. Still don't like Jared, but both of our teams. So here's what I can say: both of our teams severely underperformed, and essentially our game came down to Darren Waller getting injured and leaving our game early. So I mean, we don't have to harp on this too long because Eckler had a great game, but Josh Jacobs basically canceled it out. So had an injury here, and that basically cost me my game. So I'm not going to be happy about it, but you know what? Sometimes it just ain't your week. So that is what it is. Now we move on to two boobs, two balls, one goal. Who? Go ahead, Jared. Let's talk about Melanie and Chuck's team here real quick.
You know, that Patrick Mahomes week is what got company, man. Because, like you said, he scored 131.9, so right at 132 points with 8 points from his quarterback. Average week of 20, he wins going away. He easily. But Patrick Mahomes was sick. His production was sick. But the rest of the team tried to carry him. Gibbs put up 27. Kamara put up 25, but it just wasn't enough to get him over the hump.
It unfortunately was not. So, two boobs, two balls, one goal after getting their first win versus me last week has now gone on a 2-game winning streak to move themselves out of the basement. All right. We go to our co-host, our guest co-host, losing a heartbreaker to Kirkwood. Nate, break it down for us.
Got nothing out of Pacheco and Watson. Watson was the mistake. I really thought I think Dobbs is the better pick there if you can find one. And even he didn't do very well. So I think that's just my homerness needs to get over even trying to pick any piece of Green Bay's anything because they stink. So I'm just going to have to live with that this season. And I think that's what, I probably could have, I don't know how many people could have scored me more than, 5 points or 4 points. But it was, I still got 120 points.
Yeah. Here's the funny part. Here's something that you probably will never hear in fantasy football too often. If you start Taysom Hill instead of Travis Kelce, you win. That's probably not something
I did notice that. I didn't. It reminds me of years ago when I was in the finals, and if I had started Dalton over Luck on the last game of the season, I'd be taking home $500. I sent a nasty message to Andrew Luck's Twitter account saying, "You cost me $500 with that first quarter exit."
That game?
I have never gotten over that.
I remember that game. Yeah, that was rough.
And I wasn't the only one. I'm sure he got a flood of hate mail after that performance. Who gets taken out in the first quarter against the Cowboys? He scored like 0.67 points or something like that after being the leader all year long in points. Absolutely. Never forgive him for it.
Gotta love it. You gotta love it. All right. Heartbreaker for sure. So we go over to I guess I would have to say that they are the San Francisco 49ers of the Texas League right now. They were one of the last teams to lose a game, but they're now on a current losing streak. Jared, what's going on with the Big Green?
That's a very good question because Dallas defense put up 16. I thought they had more points than that after that performance and all that. But 16 there. Tua had right at 30. Tyreek 23. But them running backs are you got two running backs sub 10 points. Never a good thing.
Right.
I don't think what
And
Akers isn't fully hit his own yet in Minnesota. I don't know if he's probably gonna overtake Madison at some point. He's had-
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. So yeah, there's not even really a lot
truthfully,
on the bench that Big Green left behind. It's just
the
piece by
thing is, the Big
piece.
Green's running backs are hurt because when they were at full stride, David Montgomery was helping that team hurt. And then, if I'm not mistaken, who else on that bench? I thought I saw another running back hurt on
Khalil Herbert, that's the big
Herbert.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big loss. So, all right. So that definitely moved Big Green to second place, and that gave an opening to someone else to take over that spot, which we know that ended up being Kirkwood by virtue of beating Big Burrow and Steal. So we had Super Mario Cristobalin on a couple of game losing streak that had to come back out to face Hanger Hernandez this week. And thanks to the Justin Herbert Keenan Allen connection, we're able to get off the schneid. 13 points from Kareem Hunt. That was good production. And then again, I will never for the life of me understand why Detroit traded Hawkinson in division.
Division.
He's a huge target. He's one of the top. I mean, one of the top 5 tight ends in the league, and especially if you know fantasy this year, has been one of the only consistent fantasy tight ends this season. Uh,
Other than Kelsey.
yeah. So, and ironically, his replacement in Detroit is also, and I'm blanking on the young man's name right now, but his replacement in Detroit has also been one of the most consistent fantasy tight
Sam
ends this year.
Laporta.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Hawkinson's gonna drop. I mean, now with Cousins losing his Achilles here, I think his numbers are gonna drop.
I don't. I actually think his numbers are going to go up. The reason being is because they brought in a experienced veteran QB who is not going to try to. And right now, you don't have your wide receiver one who's injured, so your best target is going to be your most experienced receiver on the field who knows how to get open, and that's Hawkinson. So
I'm not presuming similar production. I'm saying the production's coming down. I'm not saying they're going to be Packers bad this season, but they may be, just above that.
Indeed. Well, we shall see. I mean, I still like Hawkinson as a safety valve, and he has there he's right there, Sam Laporta. So as you can see, it's already on the screen for me. Hawkinson had 17, Laporta had 15. So those two guys have been really consistent, both of them this season in terms of fantasy production. But easy win for Super Mario Cristobal, who was the top scorer in the league this week, and who I hope does not repeat that next week when I have to face him. So that takes us to our final matchup of the week. Muff Divers is on a heater. They are now sitting at 5-3, beating out our other usual third co-host, Mathis King, who drops to 4-4. Jared, what did you see that made you pick Muff Divers?
Uh, I thought that Lamar Jackson would have a better performance than 12.9 points, but you know what? When CeeDee Lamb goes off for 35 and Brees Hall goes off for 20, it doesn't even matter that Miles Sanders did nothing.
You know what's crazy?
His kicker outscored his quarterback.
That's wild. This is the second week in a row where Muff Divers has won a game when one of his players has scored 0. And it wasn't because they were injured. It was literally because they just didn't do crap in the game. So I don't know. Maybe we were laughing a little bit too hard at the whole auto draft and Oh, his team isn't going to do it because while they got off to a rocky start, Muff Diver's team is producing. So maybe there is something to the whole auto draft thing. I'm not going to do it, but so far it seems to be producing good fruit for him. So with that being
Luck
said,
of the draw, though, too. A little bit luck of the draw, because how many teams would have beat him this week?
let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 other teams would have beat Muff Divers this week. So yeah, the matchups definitely matter. Yeah. So with that being said, let's take a look at where we are in the standings. Jared goes 5 for 6, the highest week of the year, to get himself back into the 40th percentile. Still in third place, but creeping up on me. Dr. Deuce still standing at 54%, so still in the lead for the season. So with that being said, let us
How
jump
do we
right.
allow?
Go ahead.
Trying to figure out how do we let him get ahead and he's just staying? Like,
Look here, the first 2 weeks of the season,
what is going on?
I don't know. The first 2 weeks of the season, he was just hot. So let's see if we can get this. So let's go in reverse this week. Hanging with Hernandez versus the Big Green. Nate, who you like in this matchup? But we don't have to. So what we're doing now, we're really just trying to do your pick and do 1 or 2 guesses. So 1 or 2 reasons why.
I'm taking the Big Green this week, mostly because Hanging doesn't have a quarterback in there. But other than that, I just looks like a better matchup all around.
And doesn't have a quarterback on the bench.
Yeah.
Interesting. Bye-week challenge. All right. Jared, who do you like?
Yeah. I have dealt with the no quarterback situation, and it is not pretty. And then as I look at his team, I don't like Hangman Hernandez's team the way it's built. I'm sure he's got some injuries, but yeah, like I said, no quarterback. I know our waiver wire is quarterback bare, so I'm going with I'm gonna go with Big Green to get off the snide, as you say.
I agree. So that makes it unanimous because Dr. Deuce also rolled with Big Green. So we have the unanimous pick. So either we're all going to be looking very bright or we're all going to be looking pretty wrong. So, all right. Going into our absent co-host game versus Acorn. Jared, who you like in this game?
You know, oof. Yeah. I'm sorry. I won't talk bad about him in his absence, but I believe that the shirtless one is going to win his 7th game of the season.
Fair enough.
I would agree. I don't believe in Levis yet. Not enough time. Not enough strength in this. I mean, it's looking at the matchups and everything. I just don't see it happening. So yeah, I think a 7th win for sure.
We again have a consensus. Well, we have a consensus between the 3 of us. Dr. Deuce has picked himself, just for the record.
Of course.
Will Levis, second start against that Pittsburgh pass rush on a short Thursday night. I don't like it. I really don't like it. Although Derrick Henry is remembering who he is and starting to be a little bit consistent on the ground, I don't think it's going to be enough to get Mathis King over the hump. So we got 3 for Ed Corn and 1 for Mathis King in that particular matchup. All right. Beg, Burrow, and Steal versus Company Man. Okay.
I'm making some changes in here.
Okay. Well, do you want to make them before we make the picks and come back to you? Or but that's okay.
Pick up a kicker and looks like I need to pick up. I'm still debating between I don't know. I haven't made a decision on whether Downs or Pittman's the right choice, but I don't need to mind you guys for help.
Oh yeah, I mean, we don't mind. We give feedback as long as you're not facing one of us. We don't really care. We know you definitely need a kicker. Kicker isn't usually
Let's see. I just picked somebody. No big deal.
Right. That's just gonna be what it is. Mahomes in Germany versus Miami in what's probably going to be a track meet. Barkley versus the Raiders, who have given up 20,000 yards on the ground between their last two games versus Chicago and Detroit. So I expect Saquon to continue that trend and go off. So I'm gonna roll with company, man. Jared.
I see why you feel that way, but my question is, who is playing quarterback for the Giants? And do you believe that with the change in with the change in Las Vegas, they won't be smart enough to load the box and say, whoever you are, because it ain't Tyrod, it ain't Danny Dimes, beat us with your arm. That's
I can't trust it. You know what I'm saying?
um,
I can't trust it. I still see Saquon doing what he does. So I'm not even sure. Let's see who is the Giants' third
um,
string quarterback. Well, go ahead, keep talking though.
yeah, I believe, like you said, Mahomes and the boys get to get into a track meet. But
Yeah.
the only thing that I think works against Company Man is that Travis Kelsey is on. He's facing him, and as
So
Mahomes goes, Kelsey goes. So
right.
you know what? As I'm looking at this, I know there's going to be some changes, but I'm going with Nate. For some reason, I think that Burrow has a shootout in Buffalo, just like Mahomes has one with Miami, and I think he pulls out a close one.
I appreciate the confidence. I was probably going to go with company, man. Just strength of his running backs compared. I know what my team can do, and it ain't much. So I'm feeling it be a little bit. It'll be close, but I'm still going to lose based on my luck this season.
Fair enough. So are you officially picking against yourself?
I'm officially picking against myself, just like I did last time I was on the show.
Well, did we did we have a unanimous pick of company man in this particular matchup? So also, Jared, to answer your question, Danny Dimes is actually cleared and is expected to play on Sunday.
Is he now? Okay.
Yeah. But in case he does get hurt again, the Giants' third string quarterback is no, I'm sorry, Tommy DeVito.
Well, if you're telling me that Danny
Oh, I
Dimes is
remember this guy. I remember this guy. He had like they would call him had the aggressively Italian chain with his initials on it. There was some picture floating around on the internet when after Tyrod got injured and they were wondering who was going to be the starting QB. I did see an article about Tommy DeVito. So
Tommy. Well, like if Danny Dimes is gonna play, I'm gonna switch over to Company Man. I got you, like, because I didn't know who was playing, but if you got, I'm gonna go with Company Man in that case. If I was gonna go with you, I was gonna go with you, Nate. But then if Danny Dimes is gonna play, he's smart enough to just turn around and hand the ball off.
You're not going to hurt my feelings about it. I'm not.
all right. Games to ball versus Muff Divers. Jared, who do you like in this one?
You got you got two boobs, two balls on a 2-game win streak. You got Muff Divers on a 5-game win streak. Somebody has to. Somebody's win streak goes by the wayside. Mm.
Muff Divers doesn't have a tight end, but having a player with zero seems to be working out for them.
I'm
Kind
It
of these
does.
last couple of
betting
weeks.
against
You got Kyle Pitts down there that he can put in the spot.
Right.
Don't know how much production he'll get him, but like you just said, he's good for winning with somebody on with a zero.
You also need
You
the
know what?
defense.
You know they out there. It's not like you're looking for a quarterback.
Right.
You know, I am going to go with Muff Divers because I believe that Olave against Chicago goes off. I believe the Saints finally get it together and put some points up. The Eagles secondary is not good. I believe CeeDee Lamb has a solid game. I believe that Breece Hall has a solid game. I believe that Miles Sanders might hit the bench. I don't know who's down there because he ain't do nothing last week. You can only have one player who does nothing. And I think that's going to be Kyle Pitts. So you got to put somebody in at running back.
Zach Charbonnet might steal a touchdown, or even Gibson. One of the two of them is good for coming in and stealing
Yeah.
one good play to get at least 6-7 points. So you're
Because
going
I don't
one
particularly
garbage.
care for two Bulls running backs. That's
Yeah, I'm gonna agree
not
with
great.
you. I think that Lamar Jackson, after last week's win, yet poor performance fantasy wise, will have a bounce back game against Seattle, whose defense is not very good. So
I don't know. I'm going with two balls here. Two boobs, two balls. I think I'm seeing a lot of points on Sunday night. I like the running game in Atlanta. I'm seeing a better performance that way. And I just seeing from the amount of points he's been scoring, I think Muff Diver's streak comes to an end here. I just
indeed.
points there.
Well, Dr. Deuce agrees with you. As Dr. Deuce has also picked two boobs, two balls for that matchup. All right. Stairway to Evans versus Kirkwood. Nate, who do you like?
I think I'm gonna take Kirkwood this week.
Even with the handicap that is Aaron Jones at running back?
I don't see that as a handicap this week. They don't have much left. I mean, after studying Green Bay hard this year, they don't have much left to score points on. So if it's going to go to someone, it's going to go to Jones. We know Dylan is trash this season. As long as they keep running him up the center for 2 yards or less every single play. So if anyone's going to get points, it's probably going to be him. No one else is catching anything there. So, and against the Raiders, who just lost all of their coaching staff and everybody else there, I see a total mess. I actually see Green Bay winning that one somehow.
Well, Kirkwood versus Stairway. To agree with Kirkwood this week. I think these are going to be your two deciders here. Dallas versus Philadelphia game is going to be a high scoring affair. And Miami versus KC should be a high scoring affair overseas to give those people in Germany a show. So I definitely also see Amari Cooper making his way back into the lineup this week instead of Collins. And Amari Cooper at home generally produces good results in terms of fantasy. So, Jared, who are you picking in this matchup?
I am picking myself because Christian McCaffrey is on bye. That's and and I'll say this. Aaron Jones, like you just said, the Packers fan just said they're not great. Even though the Rams got destroyed last week, Tony Pollard didn't do anything. So Aaron Jones might not do anything.
You said the Rams. I'm thinking for some reason I'm still thinking of let me change it. I'm still thinking of I was thinking of the Raiders for some reason.
You can tell the Packers fan has just written his team off. He don't even know they
I've read my team off. Yeah, I'm not even.
And then Royce Freeman, yeah, his running backs are not very good. So I'm picking myself.
Fair enough. And Dr. Deuce agrees with you. So we have an additional split. We have 2 for Stairway, 2 for Kirkwood. All right. Final matchup of the week. Last place Devastator versus Super Mario Cristobalin. Jared, who do you like in this matchup?
I am going to go with my cousin because your quarterback plays for the Packers and we have discussed that the Packers are not very good right now. I
That
do believe that Jonathan Taylor is moving. He's getting back fully into his role as the bell cow. So I think he'll have a pretty good game. Are we sure Darren Waller is going to play this week?
So no, we're not sure if Darren Waller is going to play. So I need to hit the waiver wire. I'm sure he was definitely looking forward to returning to Vegas to play his former team. But I can tell you that despite Jordan Love being in that current spot, I am actually going to be rolling with Matt Stafford this Sunday versus the Packers. So I actually
Is
have
he
he should be playing according
okay?
to
I know. He had a thumb injury.
yeah. Well, apparently he should be playing. Um, I don't know. It says he should be a game time decision, but if he's playing, I'm gonna roll with him.
After you stole him from us,
Listen, he was on the waiver wire. There's no theft on the waiver wire, sir.
I just want to say that if my memory serves me correctly, 4 people bid for Matthew Stafford, and 3 of them are on this Zoom call.
So your point is I bid the highest. I did not steal him from anyone. It was a bid. It was a legal bid. I did not circumvent the process. I
You
bid.
did not.
Don't want to lose them, don't drop them.
Oh, I'm not gonna drop him. So all right. Who do you like, Nate?
I like Super Mario Cristobal this week.
Well,
46 last week. I feel like that luck continues.
Yeah.
so it's everybody versus Dwayne. Not the first time in my life. Won't be the last. I am not picking against myself this week, mainly because I believe in me. Whether that's right or wrong, I believe in me. So I think I
You
get
believe
back.
it.
I get back in the W column this week. It's gonna be. I won't watch this. I'm gonna tell you now. Both teams are going to come in above their projections this week, and I'm going to win by less than 5 points.
Hmm.
So, all right. So those are our picks for the week, gentlemen. Uh, Besides the Miami Kansas City game, which other NFL games do you think will have impact and have a good fantasy impact this week?
I was going to say that Miami Chiefs game because they're always known to put up some points.
Like this week from a fantasy standpoint.
For some reason, I believe the Commanders and the Patriots is going to be fantasy relevant. I just see Sam Howell having another game where they have a shootout because they just traded 2 of their pass rushers.
I was just about to say that. Mac Jones is actually. I was like, Mac Jones has a chance to finally have a decent game because I see the Commanders' pass rush being non-existent this week.
There's that one, or the Cowboys and the Eagles.
Oh yeah,
One of the two.
that should be a good one for sure. What about you, Nate?
Thinking Bills and Bengals this week. I'm
Oh,
seeing a shoot on Sunday night.
indeed. That's a divisional game too, isn't it?
This.
That
Wait.
should be a good one.
No, it's not.
They're a different division. Oh, okay. No. That's right. One's in the north.
I got to
one's
start
in
paying more attention to
the
football
east.
this season. I think I'm only paying attention to my fantasy team. Nothing to cheer for this year.
And so I'm gonna pick one that probably doesn't jump out at a lot of people: the Seattle and Baltimore game. Both teams have a lot of good weapons on them. Baltimore is doing what they expected to do, but Seattle sitting despite the great play of Geno last season. A lot of people still had doubts about him coming into this season, but they're currently sitting atop their division 8 weeks into the season at 5-2. So if they can go into Baltimore and steal a win against the Ravens, that will be a huge feather in their cap at the halfway point of the season. But all right, everybody. Well, thanks for watching. Best of luck to everybody this weekend, unless your fantasy team is playing mine, or unless your favorite team is playing mine, in which case I hope you a happy L in both of those cases. Thanks for joining us this week, Nate. Best wishes, and may the odds be ever in your favor.
Yours too. Take it easy, man.